today changes my whole entire life.
Welcome to Gritability, a podcast about the power of perseverance, overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds to attain the life of your dreams. I'm your podcast host, Adam Clausen. With me in the studio today is the beautiful and ever radiant Ro Clausen.
Hello. I love that intro. And here, we were just talking about how we are a good-looking crew in here today. So I'm going to pass it back so you can do the intro.
Yes. With us today, we have two amazing friends of ours, Michelle and Melvin Valentine.
Yay.
And I wanted to make sure that I got their titles right, so I even went and wrote them down today. Michelle is the CEO and president of Valentine Communications.
Yes, I am. Very proud of that.
And Melvin is the STEM manager over at Nevada Partners.
Yay.
Power couple. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
There you go.
I am so excited.
There we go. Air claps.
I'm excited because I have lots of selfish questions to ask you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she was asking the questions in the car. I was like, man, save them.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool. We are so grateful that the two of you wanted to come in and join us today.
Yeah.
And fortunate to call both of you friends.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. Gritability, I love it. I mean, it's a drought of gritability in our culture right now. So hats off to y'all for stepping up and being leaders to bring such a amazing concept and value to the center stage, because that's what we need right now, especially moving forward with all the great and chaotic changes that are going on in the world today. So shout outs to y'all for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm stealing the drought.
Oh,
We're going to turn it into some sort of t-shirt or something.
I like that too. And just to piggyback off of what my husband was saying, just to know you guys and see your authenticity and your genuineness. And again, not to be, alone out here as a family business trying to do and grow and stay together and, build something. But to now have new friends in that, it's been pretty amazing. So thank you for your friendship.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, and we were just saying that Nevada is one of those places, especially here in Las Vegas. It's hard to find people who are actually from here. It's been historically kind of a transient community, a lot of people coming and going.
Yeah.
So when you find good people, that are rooted here in the community, those are people that we definitely want to remain closely connected to. We love everything that you guys are doing to positively impact the community. That's what we're all about. And Gritability is really talking about the challenges that we have overcome to get to where we are today. And I know that you're both doing some amazing things now, but we always like to start out, take a step back. And we know a little bit about your story from our conversations, but we want to make sure that, our audience has an opportunity to get to know you as well. Yeah. So if you could take us back just a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
We love the idea of, talking about how you guys got started and really how this power couple came to be.
I'm first.
Go ahead.
Well, we could tell the long version?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Melvin and I met in college, right? And I think, Ro, I mentioned some of this to you before, but we met in college. And for me, I was really just trying to get done with school. I didn't want to be bothered. I used to wear my hair in these two Pocahontas like braids, and I had the poncho on. I didn't want to be bothered. Don't ask me for my number. Just leave me alone. I wanted to get done. I was sick of school, right? And so, long and behold, I always thought, I had this whole fantasy of how I would meet my husband, after I got this good job and across the country somewhere, I just had this whole fantasy. And it's like, I'm a woman of the faith, so it's like, but God, right? So I met this counselor, and at the time, I was in the medical field, right? I was going to be a physical therapist, right, on my way to Loma Linda University and all that, right? And so I met this counselor. I'm a woman of signs and wonders. Like, I do believe in signs and wonders, right? And so my babysitter used to be his babysitter.
What?
And didn't know it, right?
Stop.
Right. Good sign, right? And so I was telling him I needed some direction, some help. And I was like, well, I'm doing this, and I'm trying to do this. And a lot of the things that I was expressing to him was about around media, right?
Okay.
And I had this whole fitness thing that I wanted to do, and I was trying to take it a step further and reach for the medical field, right? And he was just looking at me, and the way that I was communicating, he was like, nah, I don't think you should do that, right? And I was like, why? Why not? What are you talking about? He was like, no, I think everything that you encompass, and then I think about money and how you guys, all these students get, bogged down with student loans and different things like that. He was like, why don't you, major in communications? And then if you want to do that later, then you can pay for it, not have all these loans. And so then I was kind of thinking about it like, is that something you really want to do? Do you really want to put in the time and effort and, all the money and all the studying for this? Or do you really want to do what you like to do, which is, perform and narrate and tell stories? And, fitness was like the thing, but I was trying to push it to the medical, and that kind of really wasn't me. And then, to be honest, I was also working in the hospital as an intern, and I hated it. Like the blood and the, you have to be a special person to work in that medical field, and I'm just not that special, right? So I was like, nah. So, I was kind of like trying to figure it out. So I was like, okay. Make a long story short, I said, okay, change my major. And then my first class, I walk in and all the students are in there. And I was the type of person, like I said, I was just focused trying to get done. So I passed all the students up, right? And then I was looking for the aisle where there's no people, just leave me alone. Really, I was just focused. And so I go to the last aisle. I'm looking down, then I look up and I see Melvin in the back row, right, all the way in the back, and I'll go, oh, he's cute, and then I was just like, whatever.
I think she seen me when she first came into the classroom. That's why she went all the way in the back row.
No.
She says she didn't see me. So I
didn't. And so then I sat in the front. And so Melvin, everybody knows he's really smart, right? Left brain guy. I'm more the right brain narration, storyteller type of creative, right? And so then my professor, I was really close to her because I was working, right, as a fitness director and all that. And so, I'd be late to class. So I had to keep a good relationship with her. Long story short, we were having a midterm, right? And so Melvin, being smart, back to him, he never bought books ever in college. I'm not kidding.
Prices are crazy.
No, he just got a point. He's like a hustler. So he's just like, I could do something else with this money or whatever. But for this particular class, you needed a book, right? And so he goes up to the professor and he's like, yada, yada, telling her his story. And he goes, well, can I just borrow your book? And she was like, boy, no, you can't borrow my book, right? And so she's like, but I know. Why don't you study with Michelle? Aww. And I was like, I thought he was cute, but then I didn't know you. You're a stranger. I was like, I don't know about that. And so I looked and he just had that look right there. And I said, okay. Right. I said, okay. And then the rest was history. Aww. So yeah, I could go on, but do you want to take it over from there? And
go ahead. When I first seen her, I thought she was cute too, but she was too innocent. I was like, that's unfair. Like, what I'm trying to say? Like,
don't believe him.
That's unfair. It was like Bambi, and I was the wolf, and I'm like, I'm gonna let her go. Like, I'm not. So I was like, I was good. I was being good, right? Like, no. She walked into class, she seemed like a church girl. I'm like, I'm not even gonna mess with that, right? And then when the professor gave me a alley-oop, I had to, right? right. Like, okay, all right. I didn't, I could blame the professor. But then, we dated for about 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years in California.
Yeah.
And then we graduated in the middle of the recession. So we talking about Gritability, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you sold this dream that all you got to do is get a degree and you're going to come out and get this $50,000-$60,000 job. Like, no, like, I mean, it was rough for us in the Inland Empire. Right. So nobody coached us. Nobody.
What's the Inland Empire?
It's in California. So it's Riverside County and San Bernardino County, and they come together. They call it the Inland Empire. Right. So nobody. You just kind of, people tell you, oh, go to college and figure out what you want to do. But there's no strategy behind it, right? Like you need to, like, I tell these young people now, like, I don't care what you want to do. What do you have access to? What are your network? Look at your city, where you want to live. It's young people that want to be marine biologists and they live in North Dakota.
Right.
It's like maybe 3 in a state. Right, right. But they're not even considering that. Yeah. They just, I want to go to school and study this, and there's no strategy behind it. So that's what happened to us, right? Yeah. Like we have communications degree, but we're living in Inland Empire, and it's like if you want this degree to mean something, you need to go to a place where it's valuable. So I had family, my parents and my sisters lived out here, so I relocated out here first. Yeah. I came to Vegas with $100 to my name. Right, like that's how bad it was for me. So we talking about Gritability, and she was scared because she's like, it's Vegas, right? And I grew up in the streets, so she didn't know how this was going to turn out.
Right, okay. No, really. I was like, wait a minute, this is going left.
We had a different kind of plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so but I got it together about about 8 months. I was like 6 months, right? I got it together. Got the first couple jobs I had, and
I didn't feel like that long, but go ahead.
And then I was like, I said, listen, this is Sin City, so if we gonna make this happen, you need to come now.
Yeah. Right? And I was like, are you sure? He was like, yes, come now. And in my mind, I think like most people, you envision Vegas, nothing but the Strip, you know?
Of course.
Party town. I was like, okay, put some prayer on it, and I just felt that peace, and I was like, okay, let's try it, So I couldn't believe
because she's so sheltered. She's the baby of her family. I'm the oldest, right? She's the baby, so she's so sheltered. So nobody leaves home. Everybody stays. We a close knit family. So she was like the first one to really leave the nest. Like you're going to Vegas. Like what?
Right.
Like you're going to Vegas.
They didn't like it. Yeah.
What was your first impression of Vegas when you got here?
Well, when I first touched down, it was a visit, right? And so that was Melvin's time to kind of convince me and calm all my fears down. So the first place he took me was Summerlin.
Okay.
And
Smart.
I was like,
exactly.
Right. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, this could work, And so I just really, first of all, trusted God, and then had confirmation that way. And then Melvin is, like I said, he's a very gifted young man and had impressed me in other ways. I thought he was really smart. I thought he, one of his gifts is strategizing and connecting the dots really quick. And so just a man with a plan, right? So that's very hard to find. And so I was like, okay, let's just, take a chance, because I felt like God was in it. And then, here's a tip for you guys. Before I met him, this is why, I had written down what I wanted my husband to be. And I felt led by, if you're a Christian, this is the Holy Spirit, right? I don't get all too religious, but that's what it was. And I felt led by the Holy Spirit to write it down. And I said, I want my husband to have a big heart, to be a leader in the community, and to be a leader of youth, young adults, 18 to 24.
She has it on her wall to this day.
On my wall, at my mom's house in my
Yeah.
room.
I've chills.
Yeah.
And he fit the bill. And that's why I really came out here. It was like, okay, this could make, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's just see, God. And then it was this thing of living together, right? The whole sin thing. But it was like the middle of the recession was kind of ending. We're trying to figure it out. So Grace came out here.
And talk about Gritability. Like, because I always kind of looked at her like, oh, you bougie, you spoil, you come from money, right? And then it was like, but Gritability, our first month, was it 3 weeks, maybe?
Yeah.
We stayed in a budget suite.
Yeah.
Which was
It was so fun to me. I
For
was
those
like,
who don't know what a budget
I was
suite
like,
is.
okay,
Just different.
it was different. It was like,
Well, let Adam explain what a budget
Okay,
Yeah,
suite
sorry.
is.
for those who don't know what a budget
Yeah.
suite is, it's like a weekly,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like it's, and for a lot of, listen, the real is for a lot of people that end up there,
yeah.
they don't ever get out of
They
there.
never,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
It had those vibes, Adam. It had those vibes. Yeah. It was like my mom's number was on speed dial. Like, Mom, I don't know. But go ahead.
Yeah, but she trapped it out with me, and then I collected enough checks, and then we were able to get a place in Centennial.
Yeah.
So we got our first little 1-bedroom apartment, everything in Centennial. So it was only like a month in there, but for her to come out and pay those dues and
It's a
meant
leap
a
of
lot.
faith.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Great foundation.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, too, I just think, when you have a solid foundation and a solid person, you can get through anything. And I just feel like, if you have a plan, you're going to go through those rough times. But if you have a plan, you can make it through, right? And we both were pretty solid people in that way. We had goals and everything. So, even though I had those vibes, Adam, I knew we would be okay.
And when it comes to gritability, for you young couples out there or people that are still in relationships, like gritability, I never came into marriage thinking, I never believed that we were going to live happily ever after.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I did.
Wait, keep going.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. He just crushed me. Like, no, I did. I have the little Disney.
Yeah, the
but go ahead.
Disney.
I did.
Sometimes that's part of gritability, though. You just need to.
Yeah, wake up.
Yeah.
So and I think it's a whole generation that grew up in the Disneyland fairy tale, and then that's why you got such high divorce rates.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody's, you're not making me happy. Like happiness is a fleeting emotion that comes and goes. Yeah. It's not a state of being that you're going to be able, to just sustain. You're just going to live in a state of, happiness all day. So it's like part of marriage I still think marriage is still one of the best ways to develop your character.
Yes.
Ooh.
Because it forces you to challenge yourself spiritually, emotionally, mentally in ways that any other, dynamic can't challenge you on the most in-depth level. Yeah. If that makes sense, right? And that's so it's like literally, when you say soulmates, when you say something like that, to merge your soul with another human being with all their flaws, fears, insecurities on top of yours and all, and y'all try to figure that thing out, right? That's that alchemical process that it's all about. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that. Yeah. Like it's a gym for your soul, right? Yeah. So
Gym for your soul.
Bars.
Right. So when you kind of come into marriage with that ideal, imagine going to the gym thinking you're just going to feel good.
Right.
All the time. But it feels great after. You know how I always start off real slow, and then by the time we're done, it's like,
ooh, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of how if you kind of come in, it's all about your perspective, how you start. So if you come in with that type of mentality, then you kind of. I always make a joke. I used to tell her all the time, like, you're my cellie. We're doing a life sentence together.
And it's so funny, he used to say that. He used to say that. I'm really just hearing him talk. I'm really proud of him. Yeah. Because, I really grew up, when I came out here and we decided to be engaged. We were engaged, right? So that was a big deal. But I really grew up because it was like, okay, this is getting real. Yeah. And not in a way where you want to run, but it's like, okay, you need to sink your teeth in it and be committed to it all the way. And whatever that thing is, you got to be committed enough to figure it out, And I think for me, I've always been a solid person in that way where I am loyal. And so once I commit to something, even though I didn't know how real it was going to get, I was committed. I came out here.
Yeah, I was really. She blew me back with her gritability. I slept with. I mean, one of our first hustles was we had a behavioral health company, right? And literally, we had clients and the whole nine. It was ours, but it was just a 2-man operation. And she took on a caseload of some young ladies that were rough around the edges over there on that east side. Yeah. It can get real rough on the east side of Las Vegas, right. And I was like protective. I was like, no, I don't want you to take on the case. Like, imagine she's out with these, they're involved in gangs. She's in the middle of, and I'm like, I don't even want you in those environments. And she's like, no, right? Like, let me do this. And the work that she did with those young women was groundbreaking. Like, in the authority she was able to have with them and their respect. And I was like, it was terrifying to know that I could have stopped her from developing and then not being able to see that potential of my wife because of my own fears and insecurities. So, but that gritability really, I'm like, okay, she got it in her, right? Like, she got the eye of the tiger in her. You know what I mean?
Well, Ro, like, I always appreciate our relationship because it's just about being authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being genuine from here.
Yeah.
And people can see that. You know what I mean? So, and here we are. I'm still a Black woman. There's still Black young ladies. They still need mentors.
Sure.
I still had mentors. So it was just time to give that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they could see that. They could feel that. And
but a lot of time that class divide, even within culture, right? Class divide. Class is a bigger divide than even race.
Yeah.
I fundamentally believe that because when you can look at,
I believe that. Yeah.
Even when your own eternal race, every race on the planet has a class divide issues eternally within themselves, right? So class is huge. So when you are able to still represent, I come from a different class, I come from a different world, but I don't think I'm better than you. It is what it, but at the same time, I'm not going to be insecure about where I come from, right? It is what I am, who I am, and I got my chin up, chest out, right? But at the same time, I respect where you come from and how do we work together to create a meaningful relationship and to see you be able to execute that in a space where so many people that come from the other side of the tracks are not able to do that really meant something to my heart because that's where I come from. And to know my wife had that type of love and compassion to be able to deal with it on that tender level really created us a stronger foundation to move forward on, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this.
Thank you.
I love this. So you guys speak like a couple who've been together for 50 years. I swear in such a beautiful way. You have such great chemistry, but your advice and your vulnerability and the things that you've seen in your relationship, it's like old souls, so wise. So when you started working on this business together, like I'm just so curious as a couple. I mean, that takes grit too, right? Like marriage is hard. Business is hard. Doing that together. Oh my God.
When Adam was asking the titles, I was like, you kind of have to, you know what I mean? Play that.
So you're his boss?
I kind of, I don't know. Some days, see? So,
that's not what's happening.
On paper, but not really, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So you see what I mean? You have to watch that. Especially because Melvin is a man's man. And I know you guys know.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No, but in that, so I always say whatever, we're about the community and seeing this vision come to life, right? And it's whatever the strategy calls for, right? So,
there you go.
So when it was a strategic reason and it made sense for a variety of reasons why I needed to become an employee at Nevada Partners. And it was really one of the best decisions as a family that we made. Yeah. And when I made that decision to take on the role from that standpoint as an employee, the way she stepped up and took over the company, right, and maintained that front, right, was remarkable. So from that standpoint, how we work together in that from a strategic standpoint. But as of now, like, no, she's running the ship and leading that charge from the company standpoint, right? And
well, you see how that works, Rob? Let him say it. Not me.
Taking notes.
yeah, you know, so but like, she's not my boss. You know what I mean?
Sorry, wrong choice of word.
I get confused sometimes.
I say that because we both have a boss. The CEO is at home. He's
Okay.
So it was a wrong choice of words, but I'm bossing
There you
around
go.
all day long.
Yeah, he solves it all right there. Right?
Well, we have a very similar situation where Ro is the CEO of our Connect, which is our business, but she's the CEO.
Yeah.
And both of us have other jobs that encompass a multitude of different things. But I think what she was getting at a few minutes ago was about, that work life. And listen, I'm not a believer in balance.
Yeah.
I don't think things should be balanced. I think you focus your time and attention to where you feel it's most needed and where you want to focus it. And that's not necessarily always going to come out equal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were talking about on the way over here that work-life integration. For us, like, I don't know where any of those boundaries are. They're pretty fluid.
Yeah.
And, I'm always curious to know, especially, in the same house, how does that work between business and...
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I have a different perspective because
Excuse me.
I tell people all the time, I don't know how you can have a woman that you're not making money with.
Ooh. I get it,
know,
though.
right?
I get it.
Like, I mean, just how I grew up. Like, I always see my parents hustle together. I always, like, because, where I come from, it's survival mode. So it's like... it's like, what can she do for me? How can we, make something happen? I mean, even if you study historically, marriage was always an economic institution, right? You're bringing people into the world. Your communities are built upon it, right? Somewhere,
Yeah, even from a biblical standpoint.
Exactly. But I mean, think about, for thousands of years, you had arranged marriages. People didn't even meet each other. It was all about, what does this deal look like on paper? Right. Right.
It's a business.
It's a good point.
And then somewhere, the romanticism of it all came to this place where you're supposed to make this life-changing decisions off of feelings.
But still, please.
Right, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, are we serious, right? And it's like, I can't even process the ideal of being with a woman and we can't get no money together.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to even fathom having that type of level of commitment. But I think I'm just so much of a hustler because it would just be that would just be a complete utter distraction, right? Because you want to spend all this time
purpose driven.
we get money together, so I'm literally we're spending time together, right? You get what I'm trying to say. So I don't even know how to have it no other way, but that's just my perspective.
Yeah, he's a little warm and fuzzy too, so don't let him fool you. But no, but what he's saying is true.
Yeah,
purpose. You have to have purpose, and I think that when all the romantic passion is kind of goes away, for being together for so many years, then you have that purpose that can pull you together again. And that's so true, because a lot of times, even in your marriage, you're still individual people and you grow sometimes at different paces, right? Yeah. And sometimes you can have that disconnect, but that purpose always brings you back together. And so I always tell people, find somebody you can war and build with, because that war sometimes is going to have you guys be on a different sides. But that purpose, that building is going to always bring you back together. And it's like, you look at the person like, 5 minutes ago, you were getting on my last nerves, but I'm so proud of you right now. And that really does happen, So.
And I'm in tune with my own trauma. So I'm like, Like, I'm very in tune to my trauma. You gotta be, like, for real. Like, you know, I took what was the ACE score.
Yeah.
Like,
That little psychology
it's like
test.
adverse childhood experiences or something.
There's a lot of people looking at that right now.
Oh, wow.
What do you, is
ACEs,
it,
yeah.
are they saying it's a good thing, bad thing, or what?
No, it's a strong indicator of, you know, how that's going to impact you later on in life, no doubt.
So I'm like an 8 out of 10. So I'm like statistically, it's like a miracle or something, right? But I'm always attuned to that 8, and one of my, you know, so one of my, like, the ideal of, you know, some of the stuff that goes on in these workplaces now and work environments and the games that are played in the politics of it all, you know, so I don't have the ego per se. And I'm, you know, God's been good that I haven't had to deal with my wife being in corporate America, traditional corporate settings where she's dealing with, you know, all these issues. You know what I mean? Because that, you know, I'm so protective of her that's where I can get in a compromising situation where it's like, what are they doing at work? What? Like, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Like Chris Rock said, they're ripping up my paper. Stop them. You guys get that when you said that? He was like, what is happening? You work at Macy's. What are they doing? Ripping up your paper? Yeah, do something. Like, you know?
Yeah. And she's the baby of her family, so she'll do that.
Yeah. Like,
and now something's
do.
escalated, right? So I'm like, I've been, you know, it's been a good situation where she can, you know, have that autonomy and that freedom and that type of, we can kind of navigate those spaces in a more strategic manner. It's kept me safe.
Yeah. Well, you know, for me in the beginning, that was kind of tough because I still come from like a matriarchal family, strong women, right? And so, you know, being taught to go to college and have your career and all that. And so I always knew we were going to have a business together, but I also thought, you know, I was going to have something else and he would have something else. And he was like, no, we're going to do it family structure. And I was like, are you sure about that? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I mean, I'm not going to have anything else going on but this. And he was like, yeah, that's how. I was like, okay, it sounds good, but it's scary because you hear, you know, those horror stories, you know, about, you know, when women get the wrong guy and they devote, you know, all their resources and time and put it in this one pot and this one thing with this man, and then the man goes haywire, and then you're left stuck, you know, with nothing. And so just that horror story. But it's like, no, we come this far. You've been trusting in God. You've been, he's been showing and improving everything that he actually says he's going to do, he does. And so, yeah, give it a chance. So, and I never looked back. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool that I don't have to, you know, punch in the clock like that. And I hear my friends, you know, all their, you know, complaints about having to go to work and take care of their kids and, you know, be the breadwinner for the family. Like, that pressure is on them too. They can't take a break, you know? So to have that, that's really, especially for a young Black couple, that's really, how can I say, a sign and wonder. And what do we always say? Peculiar in these times. And something that I really, really do appreciate. I really, 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 I don't know if he knows how much I appreciate it. So you guys having us on this podcast and me being able to look at you and say that, you know, I can bring tears to my eyes. I don't want to mess up my makeup though, but it's like, I really do appreciate that. Like, I really do. Like, days I just don't want to deal with the world. I never thought that I would have that, you know, that luxury like that, especially being a Black woman and a Black couple. Like, we got, you know, history of, you know, the slaves and tearing us apart. We got to work through all that still today. You know, that's a real trauma there. And so to have him be who he is, and my grandfather told me, and let me stop because I go on and on, but my grandfather did say this. He said, Michelle, if you find a man that can take care of you and protect you, then you got to keep her. And I was like, that's it? And he was like, I was like, what about the flowers and all that? He was like, all that other stuff, you have to work it out. But if he's going to pay those bills and protect you, that's about what you're going to get, girl. And I was like, and that's what I got. And it's like that my grandfather really knew what he was talking about, because that means a lot in today's world. So, yeah.
especially in today's world where, you know, and I'm big. Hey, different strokes for different folks. You got to figure out what works for you. We're talking about what works for us. We kind of the traditional, stereotypical roles has really worked for us, but. Listen, I got 4 little sisters.
Yeah.
And a lot of these clowns that are walking around right here, or out here, right? Yeah. I wouldn't advise them to have the same dynamic we have, right? Because, you know, it's a lack of gritability, like we were talking about, right? So, there's a whole bunch of women that I would not advise to rely or depend on some of these clowns that are walking around here. That's the reality. I got 4 little sisters, and I tell them that all the time, right? So, you know, you just got to kind of navigate this time that we're in and weigh out your options. What really works for you?
Man, I love that because it's something that, you know, we talked about for a long time. We had a lot of time to plan and talk about, you know, what our ideal life was going to look like. Yeah. And it might not be quite there just yet, but it's been really intentional, many of the things that we do. And it's always about figuring out how are we going to be able to spend more time together and do it together. Like, because otherwise it doesn't make sense in my mind if we're building lives and those lives are separate. And then what, like every once in a while we like try and figure out how to break away from whatever we're doing to spend some time together. That just never made sense to me.
And if you think about how they have the system structured now, because I mean, for thousands of years, it was agriculture based. So it was just normal to be with your family, right? To be with your kids. Family business was the norm. That was like literally why you had kids. Like you thinking about all the different kids you can have so they can help you on the farm, land, all that. So then to create a system where every morning everybody goes their own separate ways, parents, children, you hand your kids off to, right? I think between me, I had to raise my 4 little sisters. At 18, I had to raise a 4-year-old, 6-year-old, 9-year-old, and a 14-year-old. I think that experience and being a teacher traumatized me, and one of the reasons why we still don't have kids.
Well, listen, man, believe me, there's no hurry.
No, I mean, no, and it's I mean, because
there's no hurry, and please don't feel like there is. Because
unless you want there to be. I mean, that's totally up to you guys, but don't let society tell you.
Exactly.
Family,
Because there were so many pressures against, you know, us. They're like, oh my God, are you guys gonna have kids? Like you're old. I'm like, what? We're not feeling that. And I felt like there were some, for me at least, there were chief advantages. Like I wasn't ready to have children when I was younger. And I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to spend as much time as we did really building our relationship so that when the boss, the CEO came into the picture, you know what I mean? Like our relationship was strong enough to where we know how to navigate that. And we're always good. Like we're on the same page. And we're able to manage not only, you know, our family life, but also business and figuring out how to integrate that and just make the most out of it because, man, I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
And I never wanted to, I never wanted to be the neglectful type.
Exactly.
And he's not.
Well, that's why
he's always like right here
because you work. Because we work,
and it's like I like it like that.
But it's because
even when it's boring, you know what I mean? And it's weird. It's so weird. Like no, really, because we could be like, oh, boring, you know, and then 5 minutes later, what do you want to do? Like we don't just go and stay away from it. It's like, what do you want to do now? It's like I don't know. Let's watch a movie or you know what I mean? Like the makeup is quick.
That's critical.
Yeah.
Don't hold a grudge. The Bible say don't hold a grudge. It's like something in there about not even holding overnight. So we try not to even, you know, not to go to sleep bad. Try to get over it as fast as you possibly can because seething it's just not healthy. Really let it go with all people. Like really, because at the end of the day, that bitterness and resentment is only going to weigh you down and prevent you from being able to maneuver and
The Bible says, "Have no offense," because He took them all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's like, so what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
You know. And then when you think about, like, even, man, when you think about Israel and the things that are happening there, bombs being dropped in regular neighborhoods, and can't find your husband, wife, your mom, your dad, your kids, babies dying. It's like, what are you complaining about?
Ooh,
like,
good point.
are you crazy? Like, because he said something not the right way, like that doesn't make any sense, you know? It's like, so I really try to put my mind, you know, globally. And that always kind of calms that pride.
Great
you know
perspective.
What I mean?
America is, it's like we're so spoiled.
It makes no sense.
But you guys, the perspectives that you're offering are very different from, I would say, mainstream right now. That's why I love you both so much. I mean, you are very much, we're all on the same page here, just the way that you view things. And I would say that's a result of those challenges. I mean, when we talk about Gritability, it's about, you have a different perspective when you've actually gone through those challenges. You've had to struggle a little bit, you know, and you therefore have a greater appreciation for what you have now. And it dramatically changes your perspective. And unfortunately, I think there's, you know, too many people nowadays that just are too far removed. They have very little grit. And it's easy to, you know, to look at things very negatively.
It's so funny because when I heard you guys' story, and then to see how you guys just work through that, like there's a peace that you guys have whenever we see you guys. I thought that was amazing. So, it's just, you know, knowing how to get through those challenging times, and knowing that whatever you're going through is going to make you stronger, and that God is using everything, you know, the good and the bad.
And I, you know, we don't come across too many couple stories that we salute the way we salute y'all's. We really love y'all's story. Like, hats off to y'all, like you said, and I love the whole Gritability and those type of stories at a time where, you know, everybody is so, you know,
fluffy.
Yeah, right.
Good
right.
word.
I was trying to figure out what I was about to say.
Fluffy, you know.
Yeah, fluffy, right?
Soft and fluffy.
Yeah, right.
No grit.
No grit, right? So that's a great thing.
Yeah, it brings me back to one of the first first of all, thank you for saying that. And we feel the same way about you guys. But one of the first conversations I heard Adam and Melvin having, you had it on speakerphone, and something you said will always stick with me. And you said something along the lines of, where we come from and the things that we've had to encounter and overcome, they don't make them like that anymore. And that's why we can stand behind our word, because if we don't stand behind our word, where we came from, that could have gotten us killed. And
Facts.
Kids and people and those clowns, like you said, nowadays, they just throw stuff out there. They don't mean it. They don't stand behind their word. And I was like, I love them. I love them because we are so much alike. And it's that grit, and it's that where you came from. And what you've seen with those girls that you worked with, and you put yourself in those situations that were so uncomfortable, I'm sure. But it grew you, and it developed this character that a lot of people don't have.
That was my biggest challenge. And if shout out to my wife, she has a public relations degree.
I'll stop.
So literally, she's my publicist.
Amazing.
I wouldn't be here right now. She's like, no, we can't say it that way.
I'm like, please don't say it that way.
What's going on?
I mean, I called it boss.
They're going to kick us out of
From that
here.
standpoint, well, hey, she got a point now, because it is a communications company. You are the publicist. Like, no, she, because I'm
We've
like,
gone to family's house. I'm like, Melvin, can we eat dinner first before they kick us out? But
no, but I mean, like, no, that was my biggest challenge, is there's no honor in a man's word in corporate America. So it's like, when you come from where we come from and you shake a hand, or like, no, you that can get you killed, man. Like, that's all you have. Like Scarface said, all I got is my balls and my words, and I don't break those for no one. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? We lived by, when he said that line, you know, to salsa, to the plug, like you
yeah.
live by that. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
are you talking about? I know folks
That's your
doing
favorite.
doing 10, 15, I mean, off of words, off of the principle,
Yeah.
right? And to see that is meaningless, like to see that it's a complete opposite where I'm going to tell you what you want to hear with no intention whatsoever. I'm going to actually misdirect you, and I'm going to do the complete opposite of what I'm telling you. And that's my intention going into the conversation. And when I start saying like, oh, okay, that's the game here. I see how I can adapt. Now I know how to maneuver, but it took me some time to process that, to see, okay, this is how we play the game here. This is what, and how do I not play that game? How do I keep my integrity, but understand that this is right? So now everybody's full of shit until proven otherwise, right? Yeah. Like if you get a year right out of me,
okay.
If you get a year right, like if I say yeah right in my life, I tell like yeah right, like right, that's pretty good. And if you if you say if I say we'll see, then I actually have some hope. I have a glimmer of hope that you're actually being honest, right? Yeah. So, but that's just the name of the game now, man. That's just especially with social media and everything, and you know it pays. It pays to be fake. The fake.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Guys are standing next to cars that not are theirs.
The stage.
Everything is staging.
Yeah,
so
none of it's real.
Exactly.
The stage. That's crazy. Yeah.
And you know, we've had this conversation a couple of times about our experience since we got here to Vegas, and it hasn't all been positive, right? There's been a lot of that, which was, I got to be honest, was really tough for me after having a life that, you know, I built my credibility and my reputation was all around my word. I lived in that environment. Yeah. And there are aspects of that I will always carry with me. Integrity is I mean, it's central to who I am. And as Ro has stated plenty of times, I mean, that's what attracted her to me, you know? So that's never going to change, but I've had to become more aware, like you said, of others not operating on those same set of principles. But I have to acknowledge you. When I do recognize it in someone else, this is why you and I connected right away.
Period.
And it's been reinforced over and over and over again. And it's funny when a bad actor comes up, because there have been people that have burned us, just straight out burned us since we've been here, right? Yeah. And when something comes up, say on social media, like, oh, here's this fake so-and-so up here again, and she'll get upset, and she'll be like, everybody in Vegas, and I'm like, no. I'm like, we got some good people in Vegas.
There you go.
Oh, right.
And it's important to distinguish, and it becomes even more distinguishing when you have that character, when you have, you know, the relationship that the two of you have, and for us to be able to connect with you on that level, that's why it means so much to us, because it's so rare these days.
Well, I think it's about to be a tide shift in that, because I forgot the name of the book, but the concept is that history is a cycle, and it repeats itself, and it goes like strong man make good times make weak man make bad times, and bad times make strong men, and it just keeps cycling over and over, and we're in the middle of that cycle. And then another concept that's similar to that is wartime generals and peacetime generals, right? So like you don't want to. During peacetime, you don't want a wartime general because he's a warmonger. He wants to go to war, right? But in war, you don't want a peacetime general because he's not prepared to deal with that. And what's happening is society is becoming more chaotic and more uncertain, right? We're heading into some harsher times. And now when society is in those dark times, right, that's when people are searching for the real.
Yes.
And that certainty, because they need anchors to now, because it's not fun no more, right? Things are getting scary times. Right.
They're searching for the grit.
Yeah, they're searching for the grit. We were just watching a little documentary, like a little 8-minute YouTube video, and there's a national crisis on getting police.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Which
this
is
morning.
Yes,
Yeah,
like this is a national epidemic. Like Los Angeles has under 10,000 police officers.
Wow.
Millions of people, less than 10,000 police officers.
Yeah, that's...
And they can't, because of the lack of gritability, we done swung all the way to the other side. We don't even have people wanting to be police officers.
No more
you know,
honor.
right? Like, and I get it. Like, do we need to have reform with the institution? Yes, but the ideal of
you still need the structure.
Exactly.
You
some
need
discipline. You need it.
You need law enforcement, right? Like, especially if you grew up where we grew up, right? And you grew up with some of the guys I grew up with, and tell them that there ain't gonna be no police.
Right?
Exactly.
You do need some.
You thought Hitler was a problem. You thought Mussolini. I can tell you some of the guys.
I remember. Remember you said. I remember as a young girl in Catholic school. You know, walking home with my friends, getting on the bus, and the weirdos that are out there. You need the police. As young girls, us having to navigate through all that was crazy. You know. So
we need strong leaders, and kind of building on, tough times produce the whole cyclical times thing. Yeah. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war.
That's a new one. But
I like
exactly.
I've
heard that. Yeah, same principle.
Thing. We need strong leaders.
Yes.
That can be strong, regardless of the times, and now more than ever. And especially in this community needs leadership. Yeah. And we're seeing a change in leadership. And there's a lot of opportunity here. And I know that you've done an incredible job, not just at the STEM Center, leading the youth over there, but also leading initiatives to revitalize communities. And I know that you're spending a lot of time out there in the community now.
Yes.
And it's desperately needed. Yeah. Your voice is needed. Yeah. We are very much supportive of you continuing to pursue that voice, and want to know how we can do that.
Yeah, I'm excited because, I'm a stone cold Democrat to the core, right? So, but with saying that, one of the reasons why, Trump has such traction is because of his how you say it?
You got me about to say
authentic. He's authentic, right? Like he's like, we know where he stands. And that is because, and at a time where people with so much uncertainty, right? You know exactly where the man stands. Yeah. Whether you agree with him or not. See, we coming from where I come from, right? Like, once again, you may not agree with him, but you can respect him and know where people stand. Mm-hmm. And I know if I go in that neighborhood, right, to try to go date that girl in that neighborhood, in the enemy's neighborhood, that can cost me my life. Yeah. And if you get caught slipping, it is what it is. Yeah. And that's on. I can't expect them to give me a pass. If they give me one, cool. But so that's where respect is built, because you know where people stand, and that's where his base is. And I think we as the Democrat Party have to do a better job of being clear on where we stand, and show some of that same certainty and strength regarding some things, so we can galvanize our base the way that he has galvanized his, if that makes sense.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm really proud of Melvin in that way, because one of his gifts is, bringing hardcore truths to the table. And, those tough conversations that most people don't want to have, especially, the Democrats. Like, we are known for, have a history of kind of glazing over those hard issues, right? And pushing them to the back, where he brings it to the front. And I know he's going to do great things as far as being a leader for, the Democratic Party. And I'm really proud of that, because he does that. The Bible says prepare, right? Preparation. He does that for us in our house. Some things, I've grown as a woman because he pushes. And sometimes it's like, you know what I mean? Like, really? I can't believe you just said that. We're going to talk about that. To the point where I'm kind of like, I got a little edge now, and I bring up things, and I have been able to get my family closer because I bring up those generational curse issues, and now we can talk about it. And my mom is like, how dare you? Like, and I'm like, no, how dare, let's talk about this. Yeah. And it really has helped, And so, Melvin being that for our family and now being that for the community is going to be amazing. So, because he does that. It's a gift. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And you guys have such big hearts and such old souls. And I mean that with all the respect in the world, because that's what we need for this next chapter.
Yes. Yeah. There's some interesting times that we live in. The future of work, right, is here. They predict 65% of the jobs in Las Vegas alone can be automated, right? There's people outside of this community that are looking at Las Vegas as the case study to see how automation disrupts society as a whole, right? So there's a lot of implications regarding what happens here in Vegas regarding the future of work, right? Big implications. I mean, the future of work. We're talking about, I went to a conference and they said that 10,000 years of technological development. We're talking fire, right? Fire's technology, right? Like farming is technology, right? Like computers, airplanes, refrigerators. People don't think that, women in business, that's not happening. That's not happening without the refrigerator.
Oh, really? Okay.
Do you know how long it would take to prepare food for a family every day if you don't have the refrigerator?
And the microwave.
Right, and the washer and dryer change. So these technologies literally freed women from domestic labor so they could begin to, it took 5-6 hours of their daily chores. So now they have more time to be able to expand and do different things, right? So, we don't think about how disruptive some of the technologies that we have. So 10,000 years of all that technology, light bulbs, all that, right? Cars, they say that that's about to happen in the next 100 years.
Wow.
Yes, right? They're having conversations now about artificial wombs, right? With no women at the table, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's creepy.
That's real technology. You can go to YouTube and put artificial wombs. And you can have, right, they're doing it with animals. The question now, the humanitarian question is, can we explore this now? Can we grow a whole child in an artificial womb? Because they're already doing it with other animals, right? With animals, right? But now it's a humanitarian question. Are we going that route? But the question, I don't call me crazy, but if we're going to talk about artificial wombs, I think women should be leading that discussion.
Of course. Or at least at the table.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Right? Yeah. You got a whole bunch of guys, right? A whole bunch of guys, leading these discussions. And a lot of those guys, they weren't the ladies' man in high school either. So it's like, but this is real. Like, what trauma do you have?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, where is that coming from?
Right? Yeah. Even when you look at some of the technology and social media and how it's making our youth so much more socially awkward.
Yeah.
But you got to think of some of the people that are developing this technology.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They were introverts.
Yeah.
So now they're building mechanisms and machines and making the world in their image.
Yeah.
And it's not rooted in real human interaction and social. Imagine if it would make sense if I'm an introvert and I'm socially awkward, right? Instead of going to counseling, therapy, getting life skills, if I have the ability to now engineer technology that helps me navigate that, now that's what's happening with this technology. I got young men that are trying to date a girl and they need a 2-hour huddle on what to respond back to a text, a text message.
No.
Adam, we come from you on the phone popping it, right? Like, you got to be quick. You got to be on your toes. She asks you that question. If you like, oh, bro.
I gotta go. Talk to you later, right, bro?
But they're in a whole nother world.
We don't want to lose those social skills.
Yeah.
No.
And we need young people to be more connected. We definitely want them to be technologically savvy.
Yes.
We want them equipped with skills for the future. I know you focus on a lot of that in the STEM lab.
Yes.
You've got some amazing young people over there with you. I've been there. And I do believe that technology is the key to, especially for underserved communities, creating the opportunities that they need to get to a better place. So I love any opportunity that we get to focus on those technologies, on creating opportunities, but at the same time, really connect with the individuals behind it. So that's why it was imperative for us to get you guys on here. And we really appreciated spending just a little bit of time. We just scratched the surface on everything that you're doing. But I know that there's going to be plenty of opportunity for us to continue this conversation.
Of course.
And most definitely, before we get out of here, is there anything specifically that you want to promote, that you want to put on the radar and make sure that we're pumping out and letting everybody know?
I'll go first. Okay. Well, for me, since becoming the CEO, I've been really intentional about these young ladies and getting them prepared in the STEM education and the careers that are coming down that pipeline, and really trying to identify those leaders in our communities that want to start businesses specifically in STEM or technology, right? And really giving them that support, that community that they're going to need to pursue that. So I'm intentional about that. Somebody did it for me. I had that support. I had that strong, foundation, and I want to build just a army of women that are ready and willing to wrap their arms around these young ladies and mentor them.
Love that. It's beautiful.
I would say this. I think the World Economic Forum put out a post about, they have a big plan about 2030. And one of the posts that they put out that got some controversy was, you will own nothing and be happy. Right? So this is like a conspiracy. They publicly, now what that means, I can debate both sides, right? But the point is this: we're in pivotal times. I believe this next election is a historical election, right? So what I want to promote is to actually vote. And I'm telling you, voting is the beginning of your political journey. Because we say we vote and nothing happens, because that's just the beginning. You vote. You organize your community, you develop policies that impact your local, state, on the federal level, and you hold the politicians that you vote in office accountable, right? And you get politically engaged, because if you don't right now, we can have third world conditions in America all over our great nation. Right? The tale of two cities where you got highly rich, concentrated wealth, and you got third world poverty on American soil. If you don't get engaged and vote and organize and develop policy and get engaged in the whole political process. So that's what I want to vote. That's what I want to talk, really promote, is make sure that everybody does something this political cycle.
Love that.
Love that, definitely. And we're going to be here continuing to put it out through Gritability, and anything else that we can do to promote what you're working on going forward. We are eager to do that. We're eager to spend more time with both of you. It's been another great episode, Gritability.
Yes, it is. Yep.
The power of perseverance, overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds to attain the life of your dreams. We love spending time with you guys today, and we'll see you back here on the next episode.